For more now, we're crossing to Charlotte, North Carolina, to get some insight from Andrew Busch, economic futurist and CEO of Bearing Productions, Inc. Andrew, thank you so much for coming onto the line for us. Just as Pelosi landed, China announced the military drills starting tomorrow and also announced economic steps against Taiwan, suspending imports from 35 Taiwanese exporters of biscuits and pastries. How do you think it will develop?
Yeah, this is a dangerous time. The announcement of those exercises will put everyone on tenterhooks because you're not sure if they're just exercises or if China will take the larger step of attempting to reacquire Taiwan. This trip is very provocative from any standpoint that you look at. And I think what's interesting is it comes at a time when both the United States economy and the Chinese economy have slowed dramatically and really could cause a global recession should a military outbreak occur.
And a lot of rhetoric as well flying around between Washington and Beijing. Will this visit create even more instability between China and the US, or will this make future conflict even more likely as well?
Well, I think we're as close to military conflict as we possibly can be between Taiwan and China. Between the United States, it's hard to say. I think the Nimitz air carrier is going to be in that region shortly, along with another ship. So we'll see. There's a potential there. But I think what's interesting is that this comes at a time where President Biden was contemplating reducing the tariffs that were put on China from the Trump administration. I think that's off the table. I think from an economic standpoint, this is not a good outcome. And either way that you look at it, the Chinese are not going to be amenable to doing any kind of economic outreach to the United States. So then they'll likely aggravate the conditions of the oil markets, where they'll likely continue to draw in as much of the Russian exports on oil as possible. So China will not be cooperating with the rest of the world when it comes to Russia and the Ukraine. There's all sorts of things China can do to make life more difficult for the United States.
So could we say that Pelosi's visit highlights the changing of reality for Taiwan?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't think the Biden administration really supports Pelosi's trip. Otherwise, they would have been more full-throated on it and wouldn't have questioned it. I'm not sure if the U.S. relationship with Taiwan has changed at all. Perhaps because President Biden said that the U.S. would come to the military aid if Taiwan was attacked, but then they walked that back to previous policy measures that they had in place for a long time. So it's really difficult to say. Certainly the biggest question, of course, from a business standpoint, economic standpoint, is, of course, when it comes to semiconductors, because Taiwan Semiconductor is such a large exporter and they're so important in auto production across the planet. That's the biggest economic impact that would happen from it. As far as changing, foreign policy, I don't see that occurring right now. It's just making things a lot more difficult to get any agreement between these two nations.
And just really briefly, Andrew, why do you think it was so important for Pelosi to visit Taiwan, despite the fact that it wasn't backed by Joe Biden?
Well, she is the number 3 person in the United States, second in line to the presidency should the vice president and the president go down. So it's a really important show of the way that Speaker Pelosi looks at Taiwan, and also how mostly Democrats who support this move look at Taiwan. It is a show of support for the Taiwanese people to remain independent and perhaps become independent at some point.
Right. Thank you so much, Andrew Busch, economic futurist and CEO at Bearing Productions, Inc. Thank you.